Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of the podcast where we ask the question, hey, do you remember the Aughts?
I love that we went straight forward. We do. I remember.
Last week it was completely off the rails. This week it's get shit done.
This week I have cold. I'm so sorry if my noise and my nose annoys people.
Tom is apologizing for having bodily functions he has no control over.
I was essentially not yelled at, but my coworkers forced me to take a nap yesterday because they're like, "You're sick. You shouldn't even be working." And I said, "But
Yeah.
I it's weird. It's that problem. Like I remember texting you about it. I started to have like sinus issues on Saturday, and immediately I'm just like, oh my god, is this COVID? Which, first of all, sinuses is not a symptom of COVID.
Okay.
But I went and got a COVID test anyway, and it was negative. And immediately I was like, oh, nice, I'm not sick. But then like a half hour later, I'm like, I still feel terrible. Like,
right.
It's this weird thing, like, you know, we're so hyped up and panicking about COVID. It's like, oh yeah, but you could still get sick, like with literally anything else.
Yeah, you could still get bronchitis and pneumonia. No, I've been feeling like it's been cold season, so I've been getting really bad allergies, and then with setting up the gallery exhibition and allergies on Sunday, I felt so overstimulated, and like my eczema and allergies were acting up, so my face just felt like sandpaper. Like it felt like my skin, my cheeks were so irritated, my nose was irritated, and then I was getting my hair done too. So like to be a nice looking blonde and not a yellow blonde, you know, they're folding all the hair into the aluminum foil, and then you've got a few strands here and there, so it was just like the worst for like sensory overload and eczema.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, so I've been hopped up on Benadryl too, so I get it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Luckily, I went to the first med again yesterday, and it's a sinus infection. So it's not contagious, and I've been on the antibiotics for 24 hours. I feel significantly better than yesterday. It's just all in my nose right now.
Yeah, that still stinks though, yeah.
But yesterday, my coworkers could absolutely hear. Because that's the thing, like, I know I shouldn't, but because I work from home, I'm like, there's no point, isn't it? I'm just gonna sit here anyway, so I might as well work. But I'm like, oh, but I don't feel good. I should go to sleep. And luckily, I thank God to my coworkers. They were super nice. Let me take a nap. But like, it is that wild thing. Like 2 years ago, if I felt like this, I would have called out of work, like without a doubt. But now because of like COVID and everything, like our mindset is so like just not having COVID, you're grateful. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm still fucking sick.
Right. I mean, I was telling my mom about this. I think the way that we sort of categorically base things is just like mutated and evolved over time from when we were like cave people, and it was just like safe, not safe. So our current fear is COVID, right?
Yeah.
So then, you know, back to that like safe, not safe mentality, our like first thought is going to be like COVID, not COVID, but we forget about everything else in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although flu rates have been down, but maybe we just learned that maybe the culture as a whole was reminded that we should do certain things that we weren't doing necessarily before.
Yeah, I feel like even just the way we're talking about like scarcities too.
Oh yeah.
You know, like all of a sudden we needed like lumber for this, we needed steel for this, and it's affecting our pricing everywhere. It's like suddenly people realized, oh, we need something that's like consistently renewable to actually be feasible for our economy to function.
Yeah, a lot has been learned in the last 2 years. But
and then so quickly they're ready to be like, oh, new normal, everyone go back to work. And it's like, wait a second here.
Oh yeah, no, it's, hang on, I'm gonna sneeze, sorry.
Stop apologizing.
Nope, no sneeze. Just a false alarm.
Well, now you can apologize. That was rude.
It's a false alarm.
Fake news.
Oh,
you just delivered fake
no.
news.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm worried you'll actually feel bad.
No, I don't feel bad.
Okay.
I think I'm just at a default mellow for the last 3 days.
I'm also genuinely afraid of, like, second winter post-pandemic. Like, this is fine. This weather is fine.
I love this
but
weather.
But it's getting a little close.
Nah, that's perfect. Yeah. I love it.
And I'm not ready for it, yeah.
The best feeling is when I just leave the window open and it gets a little chilly. I love that. That's the best.
I took a nice walk to Starbucks this morning and I brought my umbrella just in case. And then I was like, I felt so proud of myself when it started to downpour when I came out. And I was like, haha, I have my umbrella.
Did it rain?
Like, it did rain.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I didn't wake up until 8:45, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. I was up before then.
I know you are. Of course you are. You're a normal adult. I'm not.
No, I wouldn't say that at all. But like I have stopped being able to just get up out of bed.
Oh yeah.
If I set my alarm, I do kind of roll around for about an hour.
I don't think I've ever lived in a situation where the first alarm was the one I got up to. I don't think it's ever happened in my life.
I used to. It used to be like the only thing I would do, and now I just can't do it.
It's
But
tough.
I guess also, yeah, there's just not that fear anymore of if I don't get up right now, I'm gonna miss my train. Now I'm just kind of like,
Fair.
I'll get to work.
And you did. You got to work.
Yes.
But
okay.
We're in it. We're speaking of the seasons. We're in it. We're in the eerie solstice.
Yes.
Today's very eerie.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Today is very eerie.
I love it.
Yesterday there was the big social media meltdown.
Oh yeah, Facebook got shut down.
In the moment, and like after, like the moments after people were able to get back onto social media, I felt for like a very dramatic, over-exaggerated moment, like, oh my god, this is totally going to be treated like the blackout in the 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
And then with all of the memes, and then AOC is ranting about like the social media shutdown. I do see some of her points. I think some of them are a little bit like too over the top.
What was she saying?
She was saying that Facebook is too monopolistic because if one company owns all of these social media outlets, then and they're all affected, then it is affecting people's ability to communicate. It's affecting their small businesses. Which that I do agree with. I definitely agree with.
I think I actually kind of I agree with that. Because they own like what? WhatsApp, Instagram. I think they own a couple other things as well.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that they bought WhatsApp. Like, when did that happen?
I think a few years ago. But like, also, it's coincidental that this power out, whatever outage, not power outage, this project configuration error, they call it, coincidentally happened only like a day after the whistleblower reports.
Oh.
Are you aware of the whistleblower reports?
No, what's that?
Somebody, there was a Facebook whistleblower who went public on 60 Minutes on Sunday night, pretty much exposing, saying like, Facebook has known very clearly about how damaging its marketing is.
Influence was.
And they've always had a choice. Like, Facebook has actively had a choice to limit or control the amount of information people receive. And they've actively always chosen to go in the wrong direction. Like, it's hard to think, like, how can a social media, like, because you think, like, a social media platform is designed to your liking. How is it affecting you? But it's because Facebook lives on engagement. They'd rather you be on Facebook than anywhere else. So they actively have pushed according to the whistleblower, and honestly, this whistleblower just confirmed everything we already knew. Hatred and anger makes you stay on on Facebook longer than anything else. So despite them trying to promise to make the better effort to move forward and stop misinformation, apparently they haven't. They have only done about 3% of damage control following, all the shenanigans.
I was gonna say, like, in what way would you measure the difference? You know what I'm saying? Like, how would you measure the difference in distributing news? Because, I mean, I haven't really had a Facebook for years now, so I don't know. But anytime I go on there, it feels like it's still the same.
Well, because it's essentially they've had the information, and they've also seen, like, the way they market and push content to, younger viewers, especially younger women, is incredibly damaging. So it's like they've had, like, it's very simple. It's very simple. It's how the algorithm works. It's, because, like, the way it used to be, like, before everything, I mean, algorithms have always been a part of the online market, but, like, when we first used, like, let's say MySpace, which, God bless MySpace, MySpace never sparked an insurrection.
God. Don't we miss MySpace now?
Yes.
I mean, my goodness.
Like, when you went on MySpace, you saw your wall, and your wall was, like, all your posts for your friends were making, and it was completely chronological for, like, the first few years. And Facebook was the same. Everything you saw was chronological. Then it became preferred. People you engaged more often with would be more shown up on your thing. Now it's so, because obviously there's branding and marketing on Facebook. Everything is so specific to create a specific type of engagement. Like, it's no longer a point where, like, we like to think, like, oh, you're on Google and then you get an ad for something that you thought about. Like, haha, we get it. But it's even more complicated than that. It's, what can we send this viewer to get them angry enough to stay on our platform longer? Like, that's what it is right now. And then for younger girls, like, how do we push different body images and market towards them? Like if they look at fashion models, how do we market something like dietary supplements? Like, it's very damaging protocols that, from what the whistleblower says, has been known about for years and seems to be a very easy fix. And they just actively are like, yeah, but money though.
But this is working.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think the thing is about, as we get older, and we've talked about this before casually, where people are so quick to be like, oh, look at what these girls are wearing on social media. And it's like they forget that when we were kids, we had our own version of that.
Yes.
No, maybe it wasn't engaging with us on Instagram or Snapchat, but... And maybe it's not like young people getting plastic surgery, but there was Paris Hilton eating the Carl's Jr. burger, Jessica Simpson dancing to These Boots Are Made for Walking. Like, we had our own versions of that. Every generation has their own version of that. So it's not that it's ever worse for the current generation. It's just that it mutates to... hypnotize whatever the new generation is. So right now, it is young people getting plastic surgery and appearing on Instagram.
Well, not even the young people, like, very clearly with Facebook, like, they know very clearly their demographic age is older on Facebook, and they're like, how do we, like, it's almost, in a way, makes me look at the people who fall for these rabbit holes of misinformation as victims, because they are, like,
right.
Like, the biggest problematic figures are those with influence, but, like, the wild aunt or uncle who just says a bunch of wild shit, are they problematic? Yes, but what's their scope of influence? Not very high. They don't have that much influence, but they're, in a way, a victim to a website that is specifically designed to keep them... Like, imagine, they probably would be a lot less hateful if they weren't made to stay on this website for a long time arguing about nothing.
I mean, I know people, it's too much of our lives now. That's what was kind of nice about MySpace, because you could engage with it for a little bit, but then you could easily detach yourself from it.
I think we should start a petition to bring it back. Like, I know there was
We gotta get Tom. We gotta get Tom on board.
Get MySpace. I mean, MySpace never really left. But, like, it's just...
We gotta get MySpace Tom on board.
I want MySpace,
He's gotta be a part of it.
We gotta do this.
He'll lead the revolution.
I mean, the scene is back, baby. Emo culture.
So,
yeah, it's all here.
That's right. So October is starting off very eerie. Mercury in retrograde is not helping. Oh, something just went off. Is that yours?
That's my Google. Hey, Google, stop. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay. It was just really funny because I'm like, Mercury's in retrograde, and then all of a sudden you hear this like little like mystical, magical like doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, Google's the worst. I'm sorry.
No, why are you apologizing for Google? Tom,
know.
You gotta stop apologizing now. You've used up your sorries for the day.
Alright, that's fair. You're right.
No more sorries. Unless you, like, kick a baby. Don't kick a baby.
I never kick a baby.
Okay, that's the only scenario where I'm like, you should definitely apologize for that. But, you know, for superfluous reasons, no more apologies.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about eerie. Mystical stuff, planets in weird places.
Oh, that's a good transition.
Thank you. We're on to our next episode of our eerie solstice season.
Yes.
Yay! And this one's a little bit of a hodgepodge.
Yes, it is. We're breaking the rules a little bit, but I made sure to pick a movie that exists in the aughts, and I think like, even though some of these movies, like, let's just say I didn't pick it to talk about, which I know is a sin to a lot of people, but Hocus Pocus was definitely on the mindset of a lot of people in the aughts.
Sure.
So it's like, you know, the aughts definitely had that, especially like emo kids and shit like that. Witch culture was definitely a thing, starting at least, and that's why this episode is recording.
It's our favorite witches! We're doing a whole episode just about our favorite witches.
Yay! Also,
yay!
I figure I start off this episode drawing a tarot card that I just shuffled.
Oh, what is it?
Let me see. Hang on. Just want to get the noise for effect. I don't know if it's showing.
Did you see the cat meme tarot card sweater that I got?
I did not.
Oh my god. Okay. So there is this amazing artist in Bangkok. She goes by Ping Hada.
Okay.
And she makes tarot card designs, but in the tarot card is a cat meme. So I got Joe the Magician card.
Nice.
And I wanted the moon, and it's of two cats, and they're like big old bellies.
Aww.
And they're like,
I love that.
They got me the wrong size, so I gave it to Eric.
Okay.
They let me keep it for free, and then they ordered me a small, and I just got it.
Nice.
And your sister Jonna fell in love with it.
Nice.
And was messaging me and was like, oh my god, I need this. This is amazing. And so I think she ended up ordering something from that site too. Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, so drum rolls. This is the card for today. Reverse Knight of Swords.
Oh, okay. That was not what I was anticipating.
Fuck knows what that means. Hey, Google, what is the Knight of Swords?
2021 witchcraft.
According to Wikipedia, Knight of Swords is a card used in Latin-suited playing cards which include tarot decks. It is part of what tarot card readers call the minor arcana. Tarot cards are used throughout much of Europe to play tarot card games.
That didn't help. All right, now I have to do this. Reversed.
She's too basic. That's what it is.
Of Swords.
Okay, while you do that, I do kind of want to go on a little bit of a witchcraft rant. Can I go on a little bit of a witchcraft rant?
Yes.
Okay, so, you know, when we were kids, when I was like in the 9th grade, I used to buy necklaces with stones in them. Like, I still have my amethyst necklace from when I was in the 9th grade. I was called a witch.
Were you?
Actually, just recently I was called a witch again.
Oh, Jesus. Really?
But this time it was a compliment.
Oh, well, yeah. Now it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Back then it wasn't.
Back then it wasn't. And I used to wear, like, amethyst and jade, and I would have, like, jewelry with the evil eye on it. Now that's everywhere, right? Now, Heidi Pratt and Spencer Pratt from the Hills have their own line of crystals, and that's just, like, how far the health and wellness, and also, like, the health and wellness industry has sort of appropriated and taken the sort of, like, mystical and like these ancient traditions from other cultures and appropriated them into the health and wellness industry, because now it's popular. And I think what happened was around 2015, 2016, things started to go a little bit dour. That's when everyone started getting afraid of what the election was going to look like. People were suddenly getting into these trends of the tattoo choker necklaces, and then it starts dissolving into, like, what other trends are really cool from that time period. And I think that's why things like the craft became really popular again in 2016. Pastel goth became really trendy, you know, and then, like, wearing, like, the deep red lipstick, the shirts with the crisscrossing thread in front of the boobies. It all kind of builds up this thing to, like, witchcraft becoming a more popular and acceptable thing. When we were kids, like, we were seen as, like, people who could possibly, like, murder classmates.
I got called a I got called a serial killer in class one time.
Right. That did happen to you.
It was not nice.
And fuck that person. I know what she's up to now.
Oh, you
fuck
do
that
know
person.
what she's up to? I have no idea what she's up to.
And we will have to talk about it after this.
That's amazing, but...
Yeah, we'll talk about it after.
Yes, but,
yeah.
You're right in that there was a rise in, like, spiritualism and alternative practice, and I think when you look kind of at, especially in American history, we tend to have these cycles of more, it's not just America, it's like when there's when there's doubt and distrust of the state, of the establishment at bay, on when there's, like, a cultural, like, shock, people tend to be drawn to different perspectives and different alternative ways of thinking, and I think it's both good and bad, because it's good in that you can expand your perspective and look into things you wouldn't have otherwise looked into. But it's bad because when the Summer of Love failed, a bunch of hippies just joined Jesus cults and murdered people. So, like, it's a double-edged sword.
Right, exactly. So, and I think that's what's happening now, too.
There's definitely
all
more
these people...
cults now than there ever were before.
Right. And I think so around this time that tattoo choker necklaces are coming back. The craft is becoming popular. I'm not gonna lie, I never knew what the craft was until this, like, 2016. No, I had no idea.
I love the craft. I've always loved the craft.
I think I would like the craft. I've never watched it.
You would like the craft.
Okay. And then, around that same time, Hocus Pocus, like, people in our generation establish that this thing that they love is Hocus Pocus.
They did.
Yeah, and then it just became too much, like pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh my god. Witchcraft.
I like pumpkin spice lattes, but I liked Hocus Pocus too.
Oh, witch talk is a whole beast in itself. I remember which TikTok got in trouble. Not TikTok, but, like, all these young witches on TikTok tried to, like, curse the moon. It was just wild. It was wild.
Okay. Sure,
exactly. Witch talk. That's a thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know. I've read this book that I really enjoy, which I feel like is oddly very fitting to, like, what's happening in the world. It was called All the Birds in the Sky. And it's about, like, these two childhood friends who are pulled apart because of, like, different traumatic scenarios. One is incredibly gifted in computers. One is an incredibly gifted witch. They find each other again, like, years later as adults. One is, like, this beaming, like, almost, like, Elon Musk wannabe tycoon. The other one is kind of just, like, a waitress, but she's actually, like, a very, very talented witch undercover with that. And the world is ending. Like, environment, climate change has finally taken over. And then they kind of find themselves on opposite ends of the spectrum. He believes that, like, to save humanity, they have to go into space. She believes that that attempt is actually what will destroy the Earth. And then it comes to a really great, like, mystical ending. But at the same time, like, the fantasy, like, the ending is the truly, like, fantasy element to it. And I don't think that our answer will be, like, a book ending.
No, and also...
No.
I like the idea of it's a combination of the two. You need science and a little bit of magic.
Yeah!
Because if you rely too much on magic, you become an anti-vaxxer.
Right, exactly.
Like, we don't address this enough, but some of these holistic crystal mommies are a lot of times conspiracy theorists themselves.
Well, that's what's really funny is there are some content creators that I follow on Instagram. Young Me Meyer is one of them, where she's like, you fucking Karens out here are so nasty to us on the comments, and then I go to your pages and you're all like, oh my god, live, laugh, love, like, peace. This is a safe space.
Safe space.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the movies. Do you want to start with your movie?
Let's talk about what we want to do.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to start with the classic. And like I said, like, Hocus Pocus is not any of our picks. Just,
everyone's going to be mad, but that's okay.
Everybody's going to be mad, but keep listening because our suggestions are better. My first suggestion, or like my first pick, is Teen Witch.
Yes.
From 1989. It's got the perfect mix of terrible music, white kids rapping and having a rap battle.
Yeah, that did happen.
And top that.
Supersonic, idiotic, disconnected, not respected. Who would ever really want to go and top that? Such a waste of pretty face, but hanging in your nose face. I wish that you would take a look and really stop that. Top that.
They did have a rap battle. The obnoxious kid brother gets turned into a dog and has no issues whatsoever after he gets turned back into a boy.
Yes. Also, that younger brother, I recognized him, because I watched Teen Witch for the first time like a week ago.
Just for the first time?
What's up?
You just watched Teen Witch for the first time? It was never, like, you never watched it on Disney?
No.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But,
oh my god.
Yeah, that kid, he was in, a couple of movies I immediately recognized him for, and I was like, no way. He was in, Near Dark, fantastic vampire movie that I fucking love, which I want to give a lot of praise and love to Catherine Bigelow. Great director who made this amazing horror movie. Yeah.
She's great.
But, what else was he? He was in a couple of things. I was like, no way. He was.
Do you know who his dad is?
No.
His dad is the actor who played the priest in The Exorcist.
That's wild.
Yeah, yeah.
He was also in Class of 1999, which I genuinely love that movie.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that one.
It's wild. It's just fun. It's just fun post-apocalyptic teenage antics. It's got Malcolm McDowell in it.
Oh, he's great.
Oh, yeah.
His son just got married.
Really? Good for him.
Mm-hmm. To Lily Collins.
Did not know that.
Oh, wait, I do know this movie because I talked about it with you and Dave when we had to watch it for my class. Or we watched part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, I do know this movie. This movie is bizarre. I haven't seen the whole thing, but it is great.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk more about Teen Witch.
Yeah, so, classic. It like tries really hard to be a classic rom-com, but then at the same time wants to be about magic. And so she she's not cool. She's not a cool girl, even though I loved her clothes before she became popular.
Yeah.
And then the guy that she likes almost runs her over.
Yeah.
And then, like, doesn't even check to make sure she's okay. She stumbles to a house and tries to, like, use the phone. And then it's Zelda, known as Madame Serena in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I forget her last name. It's like Rubenstein or something like that.
Yep, Zelda Rubinstein, yeah.
Yeah. And then Madame Serena tells her that she's actually the reincarnation of a very powerful witch. And she gets this amulet. And she starts kind of leading her in what to do with her magical powers. Like, you know, become the most popular girl in school. Get the popular boy to fall in love with you. Start making fake money.
Yeah.
Turn your brother into a dog. classic teen stuff, you
Random
know?
rap battle. I was confused. This is movie.
In a rap battle.
Is this movie, because it's not, there's only like 2 songs in it, but they break out into song for no reason twice. But
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
a musical.
Yeah, but I love that.
It confused me.
I mean, I feel like there are a lot of rom-coms that do that, you know? That's the thing is, like, I don't think this movie knew quite what it wanted to be, if it wanted to be a full-on witch movie, or if it wanted to be a rom-com. I mean, the things that stuck out to me the most from when I was a kid, like, I haven't gone back and watched this movie, I just really remember loving it as a kid. The one thing was that I liked her clothes before she became popular. I thought they were way better. And then also, I remember, like, the very sexy, steamy makeout scene where they, like, find an abandoned house and they, like, make out in it.
That's right.
As a kid, even then, I was like, well, they're gonna fuck.
They gonna have the sex.
I'm pretty sure there's, like, saxophone music playing in the background.
A 16-year-old girl, although she's, like, how old was she? She's probably, like, in her late 20s. They were all in their late 20s.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's Blake Lively's sister.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Did not
Robin
know that.
Lively.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
The more you know.
And, I don't even, like, really remember what happens in the end. I think it's just she kind of realizes, like, wah, I'm unhappy. All of my loved ones don't like this new version of me. And then, like, she puts everything back to the way it was.
Yeah, that's how it ended.
That's
it ended
basically it, right?
because she got the love potion to turn the guy she likes into loving her. But she's like, but you gotta be yourself. Like, that's the whole point of the story. Is you gotta be yourself. Gotta be yourself, even if you're a up-and-coming late 80s rap, hip-hop, white artist.
Yeah.
You gotta be yourself and do the rap battle.
You gotta do the rap battle.
That was my takeaway from the movie.
And yeah, I just, like, really remember, like, the rap scene and the weird montage of her becoming popular where she's wearing the cute outfit and then everyone is just, like, walking behind her like a parade.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes you wonder, like, who wrote this and how disconnected are they actually to teens that they think their idea of being popular is, like, being followed by a bunch of people.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I don't know. It's just so, it's such a classic movie to me. So that was my first pick.
Hey, it's a good one to go with.
Yeah. So what's your first pick?
I'm gonna talk about The Craft.
Oh, you are going to talk about The Craft. Perfect.
I want to talk about The Craft.
Let's talk about The Craft.
I've always loved The Craft. I remember my mom showed it to us when we were younger, and I was just like, I love this movie. It's also, this movie, I think it came out around the same time, if not after. I think it came out a little after Scream, because this movie features Neve Campbell. So, like, God bless her, love her very much.
She's great.
And a Skeet Ulrich. This movie has Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, Christine Taylor's in it, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a good amount of people in this movie. And it's a, 90s coming of age story, kids in high school, the unpopular witchcraft girls end up finding real witchcraft powers, and then one becomes too dangerous, and it's honestly like a lot of fun. Some of the effects are really cool. It's just a good time. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
It's just a good time.
Oh dang, it came out the same year as Scream.
Yes.
What a good year for Neve Campbell.
Exactly. I would say this definitely hits that, like, because it's like a trio of like outcasts, you know, and it just kind of hits that feeling like, you know, you're an outcast, you're an alt kid, and then like all that matters is the three of you, and then all of a sudden things start happening, and you're like, that self-esteem comes up, and you're like, well, that's like a cathartic fantasy of like, isn't it cool that, you know, these three are like me, or like anyone who's not like popular all of a sudden has the power. But then you see how it can corrupt and go wrong. It's like, you know, it's just it's like an old wise tale retold in a 90s angsty package.
Right. It kind of tells a similar story as Teen Witch, but I think definitely leans more into the consequences and sort of the scary element of like, well, what happens when someone who feels like they're wronged by society has too much power?
Exactly. And it's also
versus like Teen Witch is just getting new clothes.
Yeah. I will say this movie also dives more into like the witchcraft. Like you see, like obviously a lot of it isn't like, I guess, true to Wiccan form, but there is a lot of actual like references and talk of like witchcraft, the triple goddess, you know, things like that. And then like it gets gross because it's like if you I think what's the curse? It's like if you do something bad to someone, it comes back to you twofold. And there's some really wicked scenes of like body modification due to witchcraft. It's wild. It gets really. It's a good movie. I say watch it if you haven't seen it.
I want to watch that one. I also want to watch Witches of Eastwick.
I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen that one either, but I really like the cast. I mean, it's like Michelle Pfeiffer, Susan Sarandon, and Cher.
Oh yes,
it's a great cast.
Yes,
you know?
it is. Yes.
But my first experience with the craft, like I had mentioned, was not until the sort of like resurgence of witchy stuff. And I think also just as we get older, you know, we can kind of admit, oh, remember this thing? Yeah, it wasn't seen as cool back then, but I liked it. And now people can kind of admit, like, oh, I liked this thing too. So I think that kind of leads into it as well. My first experience with the craft was on Tumblr.
That sounds like a perfect place.
Yeah, and it would be that gif of when they're at the bus stop and the bus driver tells them, like, you guys should get home. Like, you're gonna run into a bunch of weirdos and monsters. And then she's like, we are the weirdos and the monsters.
Yeah.
So I didn't know of the movie until that specific gif. And then I started looking it up, and it just started getting around on, like, Instagram and Tumblr. It's a very, like, Tumblr movie.
It is,
you know
100%, I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, something that also is cool about this movie, because they go to a Catholic school, and there is, like, that parallel of, like, you know, ritualistic symbology. Like, they're in a setting where you're kind of like, people don't acknowledge that as much in America. I mean, Catholicism isn't the main religion of America, but if you grew up Catholic, you grew up around a lot of strong, striking images and symbols, and it's very like, you can make that parallel to, you know, the real ritualistic manners of like Wiccan and things like that, and see like, just by, I don't know, it's an interesting parallel. I couldn't go, I'm too sick to think more than that.
No, I get what you're saying. I'll help extrapolate it a little bit.
Yeah,
because you're welcome. People forget that there is such a like mysticism and Catholicism and like Christianity actually go hand in hand. It goes all the way back to, you know, the Puritans and like the witch trials, you know? It is this like fear of this other thing. But so that means that they're very connected. I feel like there are lots of movies and books where witches discover who they are in a Catholic school, or specifically a boarding school. There are a lot with boarding schools.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like there's that one movie, The Coven.
Oh,
Did you ever watch that movie?
no, but you've told me about The Coven.
Oh boy, Sebastian Stan.
Wait, that could be on the list, right? That was a 2000s movie.
I mean, it could be on the list. I wouldn't say that it's a good movie.
But it's a witch movie.
I wouldn't say that it's a good movie. It's just about a bunch of like sexy boarding school witch boys versus the evil sexy witch boys.
The evil ones, yes.
Yeah. But I think that there is kind of this connection between like when we think of like sort of like colonial upper crust white New England folks with witchcraft because of our relation to Salem.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like there are some supernatural things that are like very tied to how they relate to Christianity. Like everything in Supernatural is like by the book. If you are using witchcraft, if you are a vampire, your soul is sealed to go to hell, so they take it very literally. Yeah, so I think that there's always that connection.
Hell yeah. Sorry.
Should we go to my second pick?
Yes. What is your second pick?
Okay, so my second pick is one that came out in the 2000s, and I'm glad that I switched to this one instead, because then I found out my third one was not made in the 2000s. It was actually made in the 90s. But my second pick is Hayao Miyazaki's Howl's Moving Castle.
Yes.
I was originally going to pick Kiki's Delivery Service because she is the iconic witch. But Howl's Moving Castle is objectively my favorite Miyazaki movie.
That's fair, yeah.
I went to go see it instead of go to our 8th grade dance.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. I have like such a love for Miyazaki movies, specifically because like my mom always like encouraged to go see the movies with me when we were kids. So, my mom would take me to that abandoned movie theater where no one else was watching it, and she's like, okay, like the new one's coming out, let's go see it. But like Howl's Moving Castle is so good, and that movie is basically about this little, she's not little, I think she's about like 19 or so, but the main character is Sophie, and she works for a hat shop, and she is whisked away by Howl, and the Wicked Witch of the Waste is jealous of her because she once had a love affair with Howl, and she turns her into an old lady.
Oh, wow.
So Sophie, realizing that her mom cannot see her as an old lady, decides to like go on a journey to find her other sister who lives far away, but she ends up getting up into Howl's Moving Castle and pretending to be a cleaning lady. And then you find out that like Howl is like the strongest warlock that there is, but part of that is any witch or warlock who like uses their practice has to respond to the government.
Interesting.
And anybody who does not participate either gets their power stripped away from them, or they've made a deal with a demon. And basically the country that Sophie and Howl live in is at war with another country, and Howl does not want to be a part of it. So, it's also part of like Sophie's journey to accept herself for who she is and to love herself, but also, it's about Howl accepting responsibility and not running away from a situation and actually saying like, I care about something, I want to protect something, and I'm not going to be a part of your war, I'm not going to be a weapon. Miyazaki says that this is his magnum opus. I do think critically Spirited Away is his most, famous film, but I do understand why Miyazaki made this movie as a commentary about America's involvement in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I love this movie. I love the music. And also, Christian Bale as Howl is perfect.
I was gonna say.
Mm-hmm. He's amazing.
I know it's a sin, but I haven't seen these movies.
Listen, I mean, okay. Like, we could go on a whole chat about how, like, when I was a kid and I watched Miyazaki movies at the time, nobody really watched these movies. And I was like the one weirdo who was bringing Spirited Away to sleepovers.
I know, but I'm supposed to have seen it by now. I know people are getting mad that I haven't. I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna watch them finally.
I mean, I think they're great. Some people, I feel like it's turning into the Beatles, where
a little bit, yeah.
It's turning a little bit into the Beatles in the sense that, like, people worldwide have realized, like, oh wow, this is really exceptional and it's beautiful and mystical. And then there are some people who just definitely want to say they don't like it.
I know, I've never said I don't like it.
No, I'm not saying you are.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But no, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, like, for me, like, my entire childhood was people not seeing these movies.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, like, I'm really glad that I spent those times, like, going to go do that thing with my mom. And, like, that being a memory that we have. And then by the time Ponyo comes out, it's like, it's weird that between Howl's Moving Castle and Ponyo, there are 5 years. And somewhere within that 5 years, people finally realized, like, oh, Miyazaki makes good movies. I don't know what happened in that 5 years for people to realize that.
Oh, yeah, but I will watch them, I promise.
Pick.
I promise that.
You should. They're good.
Wait,
you could start with, like, a really weird one, like Porco Rosso.
I would love that. Although I did watch one of his earlier works. It wasn't his original. He did a Lupin the Third movie.
Lupin the Third was one of his first ones. Yeah.
The Castle Castello, blah 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 blah.
Cagliostro.
Yes, and I love that movie. I also love that property, so I'm biased to have always liked it.
I'm also biased to, like, love Lupin, like the concept of Arsène Lupin in anything.
I think the new movie is out on Netflix.
I think so. You know, in Persona 5, Lupin is a big character.
Is he actually in Persona?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
So the whole point is that, like, they're thieves, right? So they're like powerful beings that protect them and you fight with are all famous thieves through history. So your main character, his being is Arsène Lupin, and Lupin the Third is supposed to be the grandchild of Arsène Lupin.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. All right.
You just love a good gentleman thief.
A good gentleman thief.
Yeah. Classic.
Do you want me to do... Is it my third pick? I don't know. Or second pick?
No, it's your second pick.
Oh, second pick. Okay. My second pick is an Aughts movie. And it's... I don't know if I'm... It's... Okay. If you look up this movie, it shows up as witchcraft, but I won't say why. And I will not talk a lot about this movie, but House of the Devil from 2009.
What's it called?
The House of the Devil.
Oh, you mentioned this to me.
Yeah, it's a really... I wasn't sure at first when I liked it, because it is a slow burn. It's a very... takes its time. It's filmed like a 70s movie. It felt like watching it a little bit like the 74 Black Christmas, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Greta Gerwig is in this.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's creepy. It's got a lot of atmosphere. It is a slow burn.
Okay.
Oh wait, Lena Dunham's in this movie too.
Huh, interesting.
But I don't want to say too much. It's just, It's a nice throwback. It's got a lot of atmosphere. It is creepy. There is witches in there somewhere. I can't say anything without spoiling it. So that's really all I want to say about it. But I wanted to include it because it is a 2000s movie. Came out in 2009.
I mean, Greta Gerwig, I just pulled up a picture of her on IMDb in this movie, and her whole outfit is very, like, her whole look is very aughts. And I tried to match this hair, and I was never capable of it because of aughts hair products, but it's like the short hair that flips out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like trying to sort of do the Farrah Fawcett thing, but only with short hair.
Yeah.
She's got like the dark eyeshadow on. Interesting. I did not hear about this movie until you texted me about it.
Yeah, it's like, it is well known in the horror community. Like, the director makes appearances. People love this movie. I didn't necessarily love it at first, but I watched it again, and I really liked it more. I think it was hard the first time because it is very slow. It is very slow. It's about a girl who's in real need of cash and accepts this weird babysitting job that would pay for the things that she needs. You know, a typical story of someone in a vulnerable situation taking on a task that might be too much.
Oh, this sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's good.
I do get very interested in like horror concepts where they're clearly keeping information out. Because then I'm curious. Like, I think the guy who plays Ron Weasley, Rupert Grint, he's in some weird show about like they hire a babysitter and like the babysitter is for like this wooden doll, you know, or something like that, or like they won't accept that the baby is not really there, so what's going on?
Okay.
I do find those interesting.
Yeah.
When they like weave information out.
But that's my second pick.
Cool. Okay. So my third pick is a direct-to-video film.
Uh-oh, what is it?
This one's Casper Meets Wendy.
Casper Meets Wendy.
Yeah.
I love it so far.
Casper Meets Wendy. It is technically the third Casper movie. But it was like a direct-to-film, like a direct-to-movie, like VHS. Like, it never had a release in theaters. I just only got it at Blockbuster.
Nice.
And it's got Hilary Duff in it. And she plays Wendy, the little witch. And I did not know this, but Wendy is actually an old character from the Casper franchise. I thought that they just kind of made it up to appeal to young girls like me at the time. But so, basically, like, you know, Casper has his 3 uncles who pick on him. Wendy is kind of in a parallel situation where, like, she has 3 aunts who pick on her.
Okay.
But I mostly liked this film just because of, like, Wendy. She's, like, this cute little spunky witch. Everything she does is red. She has this great onesie as, like, a cape. Slash,
that's awesome.
Like it's kind of like what a cape would be for a witch, but it's got little footsies.
Shit.
And it's in red. All of her outfits are red. And all of her magic, when she does magic, it's red. She has a little red gem at the end of her wand. And you had mentioned Hocus Pocus at the beginning of the movie, and I feel like the witches very much take influence from that. The aunts.
Yeah.
One of the aunts is Shelley Duvall.
Oh.
Yeah. And this I thought was such a strange casting choice. The main aunt is Kathy Moriarty, who has this really raspy voice, and that's kind of her thing.
Okay.
And then I thought for a second, wait, isn't that the raspy voice of the female villain in the first Casper movie? They casted her in both movies,
That's
even though she
wild.
dies in the first one.
Wow.
She's not the same person. She's a different character. But they hired her again for this one.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Is it still in the same canon? Like, I don't know.
No, I don't know. I have no idea. But I think even at the time, my mom was like, isn't that the same person? So, you know, there's like a little bonding montage where she meets Casper and they do fun things together. But nobody seems to notice that this little girl is just hanging out with something invisible. I think there's only one moment when he's like pulling her on a skateboard and she's like laughing and having a good time that the other kids in the town are like, what the heck is happening? But that's about it. Like, they show her like sitting on a stoop listening to music with headphones on, and she's sharing it with Casper. So there's just floating headphones. And it's like, nobody's concerned about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would not say that it's any good. I wouldn't say
it's nostalgic charms. It's got that era. Like, yeah. I would, I was gonna bring up Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost because I absolutely love Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
Right.
But it's like, it's 1997, I think. Mm-hmm. And I'd want to do a different thing on Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. I fucking love Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
Right. So this one came out in 1998. And I just think that, like, a particular component of this movie that is very, like, late 90s aughts is that the main character has her color and that all of her wardrobe is this color.
Yeah.
Like, when she doesn't have her little footed onesie on when she's, like, doing her magical thing, she has red overalls and a red bucket cap. She'd be very cool now.
Very cool.
Yeah. And it's Hilary Duff. So.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just had that cough.
I told you were out of apologies today.
Well.
Okay.
I will do my last one.
Yes.
My last one is The Witch.
Mm-hmm.
From 2015. This movie, Robert Eggers, he's definitely made a name for himself in the horror scene. And it has one of my favorite actors, Anya Taylor-Joy. This movie is just depressing and miserable.
God, this movie's so good, though.
Did you watch it?
I did watch it. I watched it with Joe.
This is, like, one of the more... I would not expect you to watch this, because it is very gruesome and gross.
But it's kind of not.
But
it's kind of not. No, well, it's not.
You know, it's not exploitive. It's not exploitive, but it's still... I mean, I want you to go into the movie, but, like, I feel like, okay, when we watched it, I knew everything that was going to happen already, and I was still scared, because the way that they build up the scenes, like, your anticipation for it, and the music, and the quietness of the moments, like, leading up to the climax, make you more scared because you're expecting something terrible to happen, and then it's followed by, like, the quietest of moments. Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, okay. So there were a lot of moments where I was, like, gripping a pillow and, like, turning because I was, like, waiting for something scary to happen, and then nothing would happen.
Yeah, this movie is a slow burn. It's very dreadful, very dreary. The camera shots linger on for a long time. It's very... aesthetic. It's a very gorgeous looking movie, capturing this just deprived, sad, like the context of the situation is this is a Puritan family who are so Puritan they get kicked out of the Puritan village.
Right, exactly.
Which back then, like, that's a death sentence. Like, they essentially, like, when you're kicked out of the community, especially in the New World, that's a death sentence because, like, one, there's not a good likelihood you're even going to survive. And second, like, what's going to happen with your kids? How do you continue the family lineage? They literally got casted out.
The thing that I could not handle was any of the stuff with the crow and the mother. That I was like, I don't know. I'm not, I can't.
And just all the attention to detail, the use of very specific Old English language. Like, he spent months, I think even longer than that, researching the old language to make sure it was as accurate as possible. And just everything about this movie, it definitely puts you in, like, you know what it is? I was thinking about this movie recently when I watched the Fear Street trilogy on Netflix. Because the third Fear Street does take you back to, like, old witch times.
Oh, cool.
a lot of people loved it. I didn't care for it, and I thought that
Okay.
because it's hard to sell, especially when like you could tell their influence was The Witch, but The
Mm.
Witch or like it's hard. It's I don't know, but anything.
It's
This movie.
hard to. There's a fine line between being inspired by and then being lazy and relying on something.
Exactly. Like a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
loved that at climax because there's a very big in Fear Street the final there is this really it is a nice like strong like queer message, but at the same time I felt it was pandering and not nearly as well delivered, but I could just be being an old man screaming at clouds, so I don't want to that's just my fourth. But with The Witch, what it really there's so much to unpack and break down about it because there's like the psychological separation, the isolation, the dreariness. There's so much to talk about with this movie that I just loved. Even if you don't want to look deep into it and the psychology of like the puritanical way of life, isolation, but if you
Mm-hmm.
even just want to look at it for the very surface level things, the witchcraft, Black Phillip, the greatest goat ever on film. Like
Black Phillip.
this movie is just I do have to give a warning. It's a very dreadful experience. It's not one that you would put on at a party. And I mean, although the soundtrack is fucking awesome. Like I remember I went
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
Salem 2 years ago, and there
Mm-hmm.
was this there was this art convention outside of the main downtown Salem,
Oh yeah,
and
you mentioned that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was in like old Salem. It was like in this like recreational center that's supposed to recreate old times, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
in the woods, and there was all this like it was just creepy. There was jack-o'-lanterns everywhere and witches, and just this music was playing. It was such an experience. I loved it, so that's why I went with The Witch as my final pick.
The Witch. I was going to mention it earlier in the episode, but I held my tongue because I thought maybe that's one of your picks.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a really good example of like how connected witchcraft is to Christianity. I mean, like the bond between like the devil and the witch. But I don't know. I really did like this movie. Of course, I was still terrified, but I just liked the way that they handled it better than some other movies.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't watch anything with that crow scene. And just like the first 15 minutes of the movie, I mean, my God.
Just sets the tone for the rest of it.
It's just like, we're doing this right here off the bat. This is happening. But even that, like, they don't. I think this movie's strength is how it restrains itself from showing the viewer everything. They don't give you a lot of the details. You just sort of like see the leading up to and the aftermath.
Yeah.
So that's why I did really like it and why I could watch it.
One of the creepiest scenes for me is when the younger brother Caleb
Oh, totally.
he gets lost in the woods, and there's that witch. She like turns herself into like this young, beautiful, and it's just this slow scene, and it's just drawing you in, and the
And
music's
you just
amping up.
know.
Yeah, it's so because something bad's gonna happen. It's so wild.
That's what I like about this movie. Like, it doesn't treat its audience like they need everything spoon-fed. Like, you can watch that scene and know, like, oh, this kid, he's done. And I like that. But that's a pretty good example of where, like, I really thought shit was gonna go down. So, like, he comes back to his family, right? And they're, like, praying around his body, and he just starts saying stuff. I kept waiting for, like, Satan's voice to come out of him, or for him to, like, get monstrous. Like, I was waiting for that jump scare that makes me freak out. But that never happened. He just, just breath leaves his body. And that's the sort of thing where, like, sometimes all you need is for, like, the viewer to fill in what they think is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I feel like Anya Taylor-Joy's face has changed a lot since 2015. And I know she's spoken pretty honestly and openly about feeling insecure about her looks, but like, I don't know, if you look at her face now compared to this movie, I've seen a lot of changes, and I know like modern day feminism should be like people should be able to do whatever what they want with their bodies, but we were talking earlier about like how young celebrities can influence young people, and I feel like if she's getting a lot of plastic surgery done, I just worry about like what that is doing to young viewers who admire her.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
Yeah, but at least she speaks pretty openly about it, like stemming from an insecurity.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you just got to be honest, and because that's this thing. Like, we shouldn't. Body modification is a very personal thing, and it's like you got to make. But like, I think honesty and talking about it is more important than like, because the problem, I think, especially in the aughts, a lot of plastic surgery was being done, but nobody addressed it. So it made it this game of like, did they, don't they? But then it's also like, you set the expectation for natural beauty so high that it's like, I know it, and it's much more obvious with women to be like, oh, we set the beauty standard so high that it's unattainable, and it's going to set everyone up for failure. But then it's also very true for men too. Like, when you set the example as like these ripped, ultra built, well developed individuals, that requires like an immense amount of work and oftentimes a lot of extra help from certain supplements.
Yeah, Kumail Nanjiani getting ripped for a Marvel movie.
Yeah, so it's like that's an unrealistic expectation to set on boys to see like, oh, I could be He-Man. It's like, you can't be He-Man.
Right. And, I mean, that's part of the problem is that, so we're highlighting these people as like gorgeous, beautiful, like just the epitome of attractiveness, right? Whether it's male, female, or anything else. But the problem is that when that is attributed to different things like plastic surgery or having a trainer that works with you 24/7, and that is essentially your job, is to get ripped and eat sprouts for 10 weeks. That's, that just sort of makes it feel impossible for people to obtain that level. And we want to see ourselves in movies. We want to see ourselves in film and TV because like that's what we want to connect to. We want somebody who we can relate to. So putting those kinds of pressures on celebrities just make it that much more harder for regular people to like feel like they can obtain. And also like it just doesn't seem healthy for the celebrities themselves. Like Chris Pratt's an asshole now.
Yeah,
he sold out. It's sad.
Yeah, but what can you do?
Yeah, but I like to call it Vivitch. I know it's the witch,
Vivitch,
but I like to call it Vivitch.
Yeah, because it's got that 2V looking thing.
Yeah, it's a solid choice to end on. I do like the language that they use, even though the way they talk, it was really hard for me to figure out what was going on for the first 5 minutes. But I like that. You're right. Like I feel like when they don't do that in movies, there's a disconnect. Then I already feel like I can't get into the time and place because they're just speaking like regular modern day people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Excellent choice.
Thank you.
What has been your obsession this week?
Sex Education.
Oh yeah?
It's a good show. I actually do. It's like it's a mix of like Degrassi and the movie Charlie Bartlett, which I love that movie.
Oh,
it's like this nerdy, smart kid ends up becoming well liked in his school because he could provide a service for them. Although in Charlie Bartlett's much more dangerous. He's giving out prescription medication. Right.
But that was the whole point, is that it's like, you're right, it is dangerous. So why are adults doing this?
Yeah. Or like, why are adults neglecting the needs of their children? Like, yeah. But so Sex Education's fun. It's an English show about a kid whose mother's a sex therapist, and he ends up giving advice and help kids in his school with sex questions. And being it's an English show, there's a lot of sex. It opens up with a scene of just plowing, a lot of sex. And all types
really?
of sex. All types of sex. Gay sex,
That's
straight
good.
sex, all types of sex.
I've heard people are big fans of it. I've never watched it.
It's fun. I liked
Okay.
it.
Cool.
But what's your obsession, though?
I don't know. I'm gonna say raspberry lattes because the environment is important and it will affect every decision that we make moving forward, including my ability to get raspberry lattes. So help the environment so I can have my raspberry syrup.
Amen. Save
Do
the
it for me.
raspberries.
Save the raspberries. Do it for me. Please don't ruin the environment and then I can't have my favorite fruit.
We gotta save them.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's
All
my
right.
thing. Also bees. I really like bees now.
I love.
Yeah.
I've always loved bees.
I did not like bees for a very long time until I actually went to my neighbor's like childhood home where his dad keeps bees, and then I like fell in love with them.
They're beautiful bees.
They are beautiful. That's it.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay with us for this eerie solstice, this spook event, this scary times, this Halloween season.
Yep.
Be sure to follow us on the Instagram at Remember the 00S Podcast. Find us where most podcasts are found. Just Google it. You'll find it. Spotify. God forbid Apple if you have to, if you're one of those people.
Jeff Bezos, too.
Jeff Bezos on Amazon.
Yeah. That guy.
But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay. What's the point of our next episode again? We'll figure it
Sorry,
out.
my brain is in a fog, yeah.
That's okay. That's the end of the episode.
Alright, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.